Welcome back. Today we're going to be covering inserting and formatting shapes. I've already opened a file here that will look very familiar to you depending on what class period you have me for. And I'm going to be using it to demonstrate when and how to insert shapes. The first thing you have to do is go up to the Insert tab right here. This is the same tab that we use to insert pictures. You can see the Pictures button right here and right here. And then you can see the Shapes icon. If you click on the Shapes icon, a bunch of different shapes become available to you. There's all kinds of things from triangles, little no sign, you can put smiley faces, there's a heart, a thunderbolt. There's a ton of stuff available to you. So feel free to go through, click these, and check them out. But for this particular example, I'm going to want to use what we call a block arrow, which if you see right here, it says block arrow. I'm going to click the block arrow and notice that my cursor on the screen here, you can see to the left, it turns into a crosshair. If I move it off the screen, it's a mouse pointer. On the screen, it's a crosshair. Whenever you have a crosshair, that means you are ready to draw something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to move my mouse, and you can see that my shape will appear. I think I'm going to make it about that size of an arrow. Notice this outline around the shape. That is showing you the borders of the arrow. When I mouse over the border of the arrow, I get these four little arrows pointing in all different directions. That indicates that I can move my object wherever I would like. If I need to resize my object, if I need to change the size, after I draw it, I go to these little blocks on the side. These things are called handles. These guys right here are called handles. And I can click and hold, and that'll reshape the size of my arrow. You can grab any of the handles in order to do it, but I recommend when you're first starting out, especially with pictures and other objects, that you use one of the corner handles for various reasons. All right, so I have my arrow here. It's pretty boring. I may want to customize it. So if you'll notice, I'm going to click away. Keep your eyes up here. When I click on the arrow, I get an additional tab that shows up called Format. This Format tab is not available when I don't have anything selected. If I select text, this Format tab is still not available. It's only available when I click Shapes and some other objects in Microsoft Word. So I'm going to go to Format, and you have a ton of options here, but the most important for us by far is this area right here. Shape Fill is going to control the color in the arrow. You can see the color inside the arrow changing colors as I mouse over these. I'm going to put it towards something very light. Let's keep it like that. You can also make your own color. If you go to more fill colors, you can drag this guy around. You can do a lot of neat stuff, but for the basics, I'm just going to choose a very light color. The shape outline changes the outline or the outside of the shape. You see the colors start changing on the outside as I mouse over these. I'm going to stick with black. Something else you might be interested in is the thickness of the lines can be changed by going to weight. If I go to weight and mouse over these, you can see the line gets thicker and thicker. You can actually change a lot of things about the line. Here I can change them into a perforated outline. You can change it into some dashes and a bunch of other stuff. So feel free to mess around with that, but I'm going to keep it like this for the example. Let me close the Format Shape toolbar. Shape outline, so I'm going to choose, I think that's pretty good. You can also choose shape effects. These do a ton of different things. You'll see now the arrow that one actually looks pretty cool. Does a lot of other fancy stuff. If I mouse over those, it'll show you what it does while I'm doing it. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it. Actually, let's see what happens if I choose that one. That one looks pretty neat. Notice the outline of my shape left, but that's okay because that arrow looks pretty cool. The next thing we need to know how to do is to insert letters into our shape. You can do that by just selecting the shape. I'm going to type go to next page. You guys can't see that very well because the color of the text is not very good. If you remember from the last video, there's a way to change the color. I'm going to change the color to black. And notice that my text appears on the arrow. If you go up here to the Format tab, you can do a lot of different stuff with the text. That's what this area is right here. It says text. You can align text to the top, middle, bottom. You can make the text go in different directions. If I click that one, it doesn't look very nice, but if the arrow was thicker, it would look better. So you can check out a lot of cool things there. But that is how you insert a shape and how you format it to do different things. The other kind of shape that we usually use is a thin arrow. So again, I'm going to go back to my Insert tab. I'm going to go to Shapes, and I'm going to choose a small arrow. For this particular example, I want to point something out here. I've taken a screenshot of a toolbar, and I'm going to use this to help instruct my students. So I'm going to click and drag because my cursor, I'll delete that and do it again. If I go to Insert, Shapes, Arrow, my cursor changes into a crosshair. That lets me know that I'm ready to draw my shape. I'm going to click and drag, and now I have the arrowhead pointing there. But the arrow really doesn't stand out enough. I need to change its color. So again, if I click on the arrow, I can go to Shape Outline and choose a more visible color. I think red is a very good visible color, and I'm going to go to Weight in order to change the thickness of my arrow. So that is very noticeable. So I'm pointing something out on that picture there. What exactly am I pointing out? I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to choose Text Box. I'm just going to pick the first one. And I'm going to say, this is where you change the font. So you can see how using shapes and text boxes can be very useful together, especially if you're trying to put together something, you take a screenshot and you put it on there and you want to point something out and you want to make it very obvious for somebody to see. You can use the shape of the arrow and point something out very easily. There's one more thing that I wanted to mention. You can use text wrapping with these objects as well. I'm going to insert a box or just a square just to show you this point. You notice that the box goes over the text. That may not be what I want. If I go to the text box here, I can choose my text wrapping, or you can get to it by right-clicking, go to Wrap Text, and hit Square. And you'll notice that the text is now moving around the square. So if I wanted to put this as a background or something, or move it a certain way, I can make the text go around it. One last thing I want to mention before I leave is notice how this rectangle is over the arrow. There's a way to change that. If you go, or if you right-click, you can press right-click. There's these two options right here that say Send to Back and Bring to Front. I'm going to send this one back, and now I have a neat little backdrop for my arrow. Again, if I wanted it to come up front, I would right-click, go to Bring to Front, and it would bring it back to the front. But I think it looks a lot cooler in the back, so I'm going to put it back there.